Thoughtful Connections, a memory care podcast, aims to provide general information and insights about dementia and related topics. The content shared is not intended to be medical advice or a substitute for professional medical or clinical guidance. The purpose or goal of this podcast series is to help inform and educate family members considering memory care for a loved one. With us, as always, is Elizabeth Thompson, Arrow Senior Living Regional Director of Memory Care. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, we find ourselves finishing what we started last session with discussion of the 8 A's of dementia.
Yes.
And so we're 4 down and 4 to go.
Yes. And these are much easier to say.
Yeah, I had little problems pronouncing those first 4.
They were tough.
Yeah.
They were tough. So these next A's focus on how dementia affects daily functioning and perception.
All right, well, let's get right into it. So I've got the next one. So this would be number 5 is Apraxia. So tell us about that.
So we talked about agnosia last episode. Agnosia is more sensory and apraxia is more motor. Mm-hmm. So apraxia is the inability to carry out purposeful movement or task. And this contributes to things going on in the frontal lobes, the parietal lobe that we talked about before, but then also the temporal lobes. So a person may struggle to sequence things. So maybe using a microwave or remote, they would struggle. We see this mainly in Alzheimer's disease, frontotemporal dementia, and vascular dementia. Like Linda wants to make tea, but she can't remember the steps. She puts the tea bag in the cup before boiling the water, things like that. So simplifying task, demonstrating again is our ways to help the person who's living with dementia who is struggling with this. This is one of the reasons, like we talked about before, that we have staff eat with our residents to help set them up for success.
So actually showing the person how to do it, demonstrating how to do it,
yes,
is very beneficial with this particular one.
Yes. And you also see this sometimes when you're like leading group exercise. Like someone may be very high functioning in their dementia journey. They can, walk laps around the neighborhood.
Right.
But then when you're sitting them down and you're like, okay, everybody, let's do knee raises. They just can't make this and this connect. And so they're like,
So they just can't make that neuron connection.
Yeah. And so sometimes if you just come and rub along the side of their thigh, that'll engage that muscle.
So they can actually feel it, and then it helps the brain realize what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. All right. So the next one I've got, the next A, is there's altered perception. And this sounds like it could lead to maybe some confusion.
Absolutely. This is misinterpretation of sensory input information. So they might see shadows as holes on the floor, or when the floor is a different color, it may be level floor, like it may be this wood floor, but if there's a dark grain somewhere, it looks like a hole, or they have depth issues, judgment, distance issues also. Light adjustment, you see a lot of hallucinations in these. They'll think that a shadow is a person. Or I had one lady who always thought all of her shadows were horses. I think she just really loved horses. But every time she saw a shadow, it was a horse.
Maybe she wanted to see a horse.
Maybe. I was just glad it wasn't something scary, because sometimes those can be scary.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. So I know we've talked about dark, maybe seeing something dark maybe appears as a hole to them. And one thing you'd mentioned that I found so interesting in another podcast is that you actually place dark rugs in front of exit doors as a deterrent.
Yes.
Talk about that for a little bit.
So in our communities, they're secured neighborhoods, meaning they're locked communities. We do have courtyards where residents can go out and enjoy the outdoors, but the main doors are locked to keep them safe, because we know that people with dementia wander. One way that we try to deter them away from a door is to place a black rug in front of that door, because when they get to it, they think it's a step down, like it's a hole.
Right.
I actually was in a community, oh gosh, it's probably been 3 months ago, but a resident, there were those like metal disc down the hallway, and I think they were like electrical covers of some sort down a hallway floor. And she's walking, and every time she gets to one, she's like walking, and she sees one of those metal circles, and she goes, and then walks over it and keeps walking, and then
she was going to avoid that.
She was avoiding them, and I thought, man, she's in independent living. We may need to evaluate her to see if there's some dementia going on, because it was very strange to watch her walk. I mean, she was walking fast, and she was
it was those metal plates that are built in, for access, but they're on the floor and within the carpet probably.
Yeah, and there were just a trail of them, like every 2 feet you'd see one, and she was skipping over every single one.
Oh my goodness,
it was interesting.
Well, with this altered perception, I would also think it would be proper lighting.
Yes.
Because you'd mentioned shadows, and shadows obviously happen because of lighting and the way light is hitting different things. So if someone has this issue, it would be so important to have lighting that where you don't have the shadows.
Correct.
Yeah, and whether it be in a community, but especially at home, right?
Yes, especially at home, but in a community too. I even think, at nighttime, a lot of times I'll come into a community parking lot and I'll see a resident's blinds open. And I think, well, for one, that's a dignity issue. So we need to make sure that we close the blinds. But the other side of that is when a car pulls in with their headlights on, that can create all kinds of shadows across their apartment.
Sure.
And really cause some confusion and possibly even agitation.
Sure. A lot to consider.
Yes.
A lot to consider.
Yeah.
Next one is apathy, and this one is often misunderstood. I understand this is misunderstood.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Apathy is not laziness. It's a neurological loss of motivation. I think sometimes we're quick to judge people who are living with dementia, like, they never get involved in anything. They never want to do anything. In some cases, it's a neurological issue. The neurotransmitters, the levels such as dopamine and serotonin are not what they should be. And so they do have a lack of motivation. It can also mean that they may not have emotional responses like you would expect them to have. Like, have you ever gone up to a resident who's living with dementia and been like, "Hi, how are you?" And they're like, and you're
just stone faced.
Yeah.
No reaction.
Like, okay. It kind of makes you feel awkward.
All right, sure.
But
sure.
That is apathy. That is a huge part of many different types of dementias. And so, it's not that they don't want to engage. It's just that sometimes they have a really hard time engaging. And it's important for us to, again, using those visual cues, saying the words, offering our hands to see if they'll come with us to get them engaged.
All right. So is there, this is probably a silly question, but is there really a way, once they have this apathy, this neurological condition, is there a way to reverse that or to make it where it's not as bad? What can you do to help them?
So it can also go along with depression and anxiety. And if they have that, it will make it worse. So we know that many people living with dementia have depression.
Right.
I don't think I know, rarely any that aren't on an antidepressant. So if you have someone who is really showing those signs of apathy, and we look at their medical history and they're not on anything for depression or anxiety, let's try a low dose and see if it makes a difference.
I know almost every engagement plan that I do, besides the dementia diagnosis, is almost always anxiety, and depression is almost always listed.
Yep.
All right. Finally, the last A of the 8 A's of dementia I have is attention deficits. Talk to us about that.
Do you have that?
Not so much.
I'm just teasing.
I think I'm okay.
I'm just teasing.
No, don't mess with me.
So this affects their ability to focus on something or shift from one thing to another. So maybe they're in the middle of brushing their teeth and they hear something and they stop and they go to what they heard and they don't ever remember to go back to finish brushing their teeth. Easily distracted is another thing with attention deficit. And we see this in people that don't have dementia as well.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing that we see with people living with dementia with attention deficit is just repeating the same action over and over again. Like I had this sweet little lady at one of our communities, and I mean, anytime she was sitting, she was doing this.
Just flapping her hand back and forth on her leg. Constantly.
Constantly. Occasionally you would get a... But I thought, my gosh, my wrist would be killing me. It's like, that would make my arthritis flare up.
There you go. You're going to have to go to the hospital if you're not careful.
Yeah. So, or folding the same towel repeatedly. I think when we see this, we need to also look at the environment. Are we overstimulating them? Is there too much going on? Do we have the TV on? Do we have families visiting over here? Is the music on or someone playing the piano? Is it too much? And sometimes if we reduce some of that stimulation, it will calm them down a little bit too.
Or move them to a quiet location.
Yes.
Possibly.
Yeah. And it makes it makes it hard for them to, do any activities of daily living, whether it be a shower or brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, anything, because they're so easily distracted to something else.
So it sounds like that again, overstimulation, then narrowing it down to one thing, not multiple things at a time.
Right. Do one thing at a time. And that's really, for people living with dementia, whether they have issues with attention deficits or not, they have brain failure. So slowing things down, introducing one thing at a time, like not let's get dressed and me hand you all your clothes and your shoes, but let's start with a shirt. And then your pants, and then your belt, and then your shoes. You have to go slow. Too much is like, forget it, I'm not doing it.
That's right. That's just good advice all around.
Yes.
When it comes to dementia, not just with the deficit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because too much can be overwhelming. It can be scary. And it can just shut that person down completely to where they won't do anything. I know that for some people, when it would be time to take a shower, I didn't even say the word. We would just kind of dance our way to the shower, maybe sing a song, because just keeping it calm. And sometimes that word shower can trigger.
The word shower just shuts them down.
Yeah, shut them down. But even when we're doing activities or engagements, many times we try and we set up this stage like they have healthy brains, as far as setting up the table with all these paints and canvases. And it's like less is more, because they're probably going to walk up to that table and be like, yeah, no.
Too much.
Too much.
Too much. Can't handle it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know when I would paint, I love to paint. And so I would paint with my residents, and I used the little paper plates that were at the Dollar Tree. They were super cheap. One color at a time. Just because too many colors is like
too many choices.
Too many choices.
Too many thoughts. Too many thoughts. Well, that's great information.
Yeah.
Well, Elizabeth, do you have any final thoughts about these 8 A's of dementia? I mean, all this has been great information. Got any final thoughts?
I would just remind everyone that dementia is brain failure. The brain is dying. It's not a choice. It's not something that they can help. And that people living with dementia are doing the best that they can. It's not their fault. We have to have, they can't change. We have to change. We have to change on how we respond, how we communicate. And we have to have that compassion and understanding. It goes such a long way with people who are struggling.
Yeah, great information. And thank you for sharing your thoughts on the final 4 A's of dementia. And, we all look forward to the rest of the alphabet. and thank you all for sharing your time with us. At Arrow Senior Living, we believe in the power of a chuckle, maintaining a childlike sense of wonder, and defending the dignity of others. Until next time, this is Charlie Johnson with Arrow's Thoughtful Connections, a memory care podcast, wishing you fond memories filled with moments of joy. And remember, if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia.
You can find Thoughtful Connections, a memory care podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts.